And we are back. And someone let us know that you can hear us. And can you hear Chuck?
Yeah, can you hear both of us? Have I continued my vow of silence?
You were slightly off center, Chuck.
Excellent.
It is a slight adjustment that will make it better.
Ta-da.
Okay.
Until, of course, I lean the other direction and then it ruins it.
What are you painting?
Bloop.
Oh.
One sister rhino. I just finished up my last spot of seraphim, so...
Okay.
If I push hard, I'll be fully painted for Saturday. That makes me happy.
Indeed. Alright, let's get rolling. Welcome to Best in Faction.
A podcast about competitive Warhammer 40k.
I'm Colin.
I'm Chuck.
And that's it.
And there's no Mitch.
Or anyone else. It's weird. I don't know the last time that it was just the two of us.
Has it ever been?
It has, but it's been a long time. Like years. We usually have a guest, but it was a crazy week for me, combined with my vicious obsession to the video game Outriders.
That caused me to has definitely lowered the quality of our podcast.
Yes, it has, because I only have so much free time, and this week I wanted to spend it playing video games, and I'm not sorry. I'm just not.
Yeah.
So Mitch is on a many-hour road trip adventure to get better at 3D printing. He has driven to San Francisco to the Michael Timpy expert education of 3D printing. Yes, exactly. The fancy place you go to learn about 3D printing, indeed.
I can't imagine there's probably a conversation that would go more over my head than the two of them talking about this. I would just be completely lost.
I don't know. Have you read any of the newspaper articles about the cryptocurrency stuff this weekend? Because,
no, I have.
Because, I work with people that understand and interact with that, and I still don't understand how it all works. It sounds suspiciously like pretend money to me.
All money is pretend. That's how I justify it and just ignore it from there.
And that doesn't actually make me feel better. Okay.
Oh.
Wow, I'm actually jauntily askew today. So, what we're going to do today is we have several different topics, and they're all going to be fun. We're going to talk about the different tournaments we have coming up, and Charity Hammer, and cheating, not at Charity Hammer, but cheating in general. How to get away with it. Hammer? You know. Druhkari, and then we'll do some lightning round questions. So it should be great. Starting up, let's talk about what we have coming up for tournaments. So next Saturday, we're doing the second invitational RTT here at the ranch, as we can call it. We're going to have 10 people this time rather than 8. So that's a 25% increase in people. And
doing the quick math.
More people, that's right. So that's going to be really fun. It'll be Chuck and I and Mitch and Peter who's been on the show a bunch, and then a bunch of Zach and Dave Robson and Tyler and Lucas are coming up from Portland, and so it's gonna basically be really the best players that we can come up with in the Pacific Northwest for the most part. We're missing a couple, but it's going to be brutally hard. It's going to be absolutely great. Chuck, what are you going to take to the RTT?
This rhino.
Okay.
And several other sisters.
Okay. You will need more than one rhino.
Yeah, I'll need 3 rhinos, 20 jumping sisters, a whole lot of runny punchy sisters, and a few other guns. And Melta forever. That's how you describe sisters lists.
If anyone could hear my dog crying, I didn't know what was going on, and my wife carefully walked around the table to not be on camera and put the dog in the chair, and now he's happy.
Oh, okay.
Here's dog.
Here's twofold. One, she's sneaky.
Yes.
2, that implies she knew exactly what the dog wanted.
She did.
So there's some level of communication between the two of them where he said, "Hey, I want to sit on the chair in Colin's room while he does his podcast." And she said, "Oh, okay, I'll take you."
Uh-huh. That's exactly right. She absolutely speaks fluent free. He is. We're good to go.
So, rogue druid multi-class. Got it.
Exactly right. So, by the way, as you're watching us live, please ask us questions. Yeah, this topic's we really have a kind of a charcuterie board of topics today, a smorgasbord, if you will, of different things to talk about. We would happily interrupt our things with what you guys actually want to hear about. So, we're gonna have this RTT, and we're gonna put the top table on stream. So the first game will be voted for by the BIFPOD Discord. That we'll let them decide what game is going to be on stream first. Second game will be an undefeated game that does not include Colin, because I'm on stream all the time, so we usually just go with who's undefeated that's not a game Colin's in. And then the final round will be whoever is the top table for the final round. So that should be a hoot. That'll start at 10 a.m. Pacific on Saturday the 1st. So if you want to watch that, you can find it on twitch.tv/BIFPOD or YouTube/C/BestInFaction. So that's what's going on with the RTT. Then in July, on the 11th and 12th, I think is what it is. It might be the 12th and 13th. I think it's the 11th. No, it's the 10th and 11th. That's right. On the 10th and 11th, we will be doing the first ever BIFPOD GT. And we will have 28 people signed up. We actually had 28 people signed up in the first 2 hours of the adventure there. Yeah. So if you wanted to go to that GT, there is a chance I can make more space, so you should reach out. bestinfaction@gmail.com will get you to me, and we can put you on the waiting list. I might try to go to 32 just because it's a more fun number than 28. 32 makes exactly 2 undefeateds, which is what people are used to. Mm-hmm. So that'd be kind of neat.
It also helps if there's like one drop, right?
Well, yeah, and I actually have one person on the waiting list right now in case someone drops. So the GT is going to be 5 rounds, good terrain on the tables. We're going to stream the top 2 tables, and I'll tell you why that is here in a minute. But we'll be streaming the top 2 tables from the GT. It is going to be a $20 ticket, and that is purely just in case something breaks at my property. Anything that I don't spend on that is going to literally, it was just being like, well, people should have to pay something to come to this tournament, because what if like a window gets broken and I have to fix it or something? Like someone trips and goes headfirst through a window. Don't do that. That's a really bad example that I just came up with.
That's way more than $20 a person to cover that.
I know. So, yeah, so basically the GT is going to have $20, but then what we're going to do is we're just going to donate all that money to Charity Hammer. So that's what's going on. And the exciting thing about this GT, other than everyone that doesn't want me to play, because I'm not playing, so if you're excited about that, great.
I am.
I'm TOing it. I know you're excited. I think that many locals are excited that I'm not playing, which I don't take any offense to. So then what we're going to do is we're going to take the top 10 people from that GT at the end, and we're going to invite them back on August 4th through 8th to be seed number 23 to 32 in the 32-person seeded single elimination Charity Hammer GT, which will include Nick Nanavati and John Lennon and Richard Siegler and Alex McDougall and a lot
of
like
our chance to get wrecked by pros.
Yes, exactly right. It'll be a collection. It'll be the hardest tournament you've ever been to. It'll include many of the best players in the nation, not only that are good at 40K, but also are good human beings. And you can play in that. And if you want to play in that, I'm sorry, I should say you should want to play in that, because there's 2 outcomes. One is you get trounced by someone better than you and you learn a bunch and you make a new friend. And the alternative is you were the guy that beat Nick Nanavati in the first round of the Charity Hammer GT. That's the other.
Oh wait, that's my plan.
That's the other possible outcome. So that's what's going on with that GT and then with Charity Hammer. So leading us into Charity Hammer, August 5th through 8th, I think, are the dates. I'm really bad at remembering exact dates. That's roughly when it is. It's Thursday to Sunday. So whatever numbers I've given you that are closest to Thursday to Sunday, that's when we're doing it. There will be a 32-person single elimination GT. That will start with the first round. Only some of the games will be on stream, but then after that, every single game will be on stream. We'll have commentation on the really big games. As always, the winner of that tournament will win a super awesome trophy. I think 2 years ago it was an Incredible Hulk trophy, and then last year it was a Superman trophy, I think. I'm not sure. I don't remember what last year was.
Superheroes? Are we going to keep that theme, or are we going to...
I don't know. I kind of just want to get like a top golfer like trophy with like the guy with the golf club. Like I want it to be as weird as possible.
I have one of those.
For winning like the best tournament possible. I bet you did not win that from golf.
Oh, well, technically yes, but it was miniature golf, so...
Okay. Fair enough. Impressive. Impressive, but fair enough. So, Charity Hammer. A couple different things. One is there's been a request that we have a competitive round of Duck Duck Goose with the Charity Hammer members. I thoroughly enjoy this because as a grown-up, I've not spent any time thinking about Duck Duck Goose, and it had not occurred to me that as I understand the core rules of Duck Duck Goose, it does not end. Like there's no actual way that you're out. A cheerleading trophy would be good for Charity Hammer. It might be a cheerleading trophy.
I think it should be like a grilling trophy.
I feel like on the trophy I should put, "This is a cheertatorship, not a cheerocracy," which is
yes.
Which is one of my all-time favorite movie quotes. It is from Bring It. What's it called? Bring It On, maybe. There was a competitive cheerleading movie 20 years ago, and I was channel surfing because I did not watch that movie. And the head cheerleader yells at someone else for having an independent idea and says, "This is a cheertatorship, not a cheerocracy." I really like that. Anyway, so Charity Hammer will be doing potentially Duck Duck Goose, which is weird. We'll be doing the GT. We'll be doing the Make Nick and John Lennon play BS Armies. We'll be doing that shtick that people enjoy. We will have absolutely a lot going on. Someone says that cheerleading movie is an amazing movie. I'm not sure that's...
It's factual.
Is it? I don't remember it very well.
It's funny.
Is it? Okay. Well, did I get the name right? Is it Bring It On? Is that what it's called?
Know.
Okay. Bring It Down. Bring It Down sounded wrong. So.
Bring It Down. That's the secondary you can remember the name of.
Yeah. Right. Oh, I'm being told I did get the name right. Good for me. Excellent for me. All right. So the other thing that's going to be happening at Charity Hammer that's kind of fun is, for those of you that aren't in our Discord, you don't really appreciate what a weird and magical place it is. There's a lot of people in there, and there's a lot of different topics. There's one channel called Small Blood Gang, which is kept separate from the rest of the Discord because the humor in there is
really.
Yeah, the humor in there is quite questionable. When that humor escapes, we do use the Pacific Rim Restart the Clock memes. But there's also a lot of help. There's an adulting channel where people are giving life advice. There's a COVID channel where people are talking through vaccinations and dealing with friends that don't want to vaccinate and things like that. And then there's a whole bunch of 40K channels. And there's a bunch of people in there that really are starting to know each other super duper well. And one of the things that occurred to me is that this Discord is a big part of my life. I'm there every day. I feel a strong friendship to many of the people that are there. And so I asked the Discord if you guys wanted someone to go to Charity Hammer and you wanted them to be your advocate, right? Your representative of the BIFPOD Discord, because it's a very important thing that keeps Charity Hammer going. Who would that person be? And there was some discussion and some votes for Innes, who is in Scotland and wildly impractical to get out here for Charity Hammer. And then a lot of votes for our good friend and sisters expert, Tim Penny, who also is called Tom Pony at times. I don't exactly understand how that's different. But he's either Tim Penny or Tom Pony. I'm not sure which one it is. Tim is from the Florida Man 40K podcast that John Lennon is on, which they've just restarted. And while I don't have any time in the car anymore, so I don't listen to podcasts, I did listen to their most recent episode, and it's really great. John and the other host, and Tim and the other host, whose name I don't remember, do really good work. So Tim will be coming to Charity Hammer as the official advocate of the BIFPOD VIP. And we will continue each year letting the Discord vote on that. That will just be a thing that we will continue on. So if you're wondering what you're missing out on in this Discord, BIFPOD Discord, you're missing out on a lot. So if you would like to participate, please go to patreon.com/BIFPOD and give us $5 incredible dollars a month. That $5 a month goes into a fund, which I use to pay for stream hosting, stream equipment, things like that. At the end of the year, any money that I don't spend on BIFPOD-related items goes directly into Charity Hammer. Basically, I feed people at Charity Hammer with the money. So it's not just putting money in Colin's pocket or buying armies for Colin. I wish it was that. It is not that. So, because I spend more money on armies than I should. So that would be great. So if you'd like to participate and you'd like to support the podcast, that would mean the world to us. Please do that. All right. That's a little bit on Charity Hammer. Oh, also, almost everybody that is coming to Charity Hammer that's from the States is vaccinated at least with one shot, and most of us with two. I'm done with 2. Chuck's got to be next week for a second shot.
Next Sunday, yeah.
Yeah. Stephanie's in just a few days, my wife. So it's happening. I do not see a scenario where Charity Hammer doesn't happen right now, but I am a obnoxious optimist. So I'm sure that there's a scenario where the world turns on its head and we can't do it. We'll be making the final go, no go decision in June, but I will tell you that people have already started buying plane tickets, so it's happening. And we do have people that are working on the Gus Cam for Charity Hammer. Some sort of mounted GoPro on Gus that we stream during games as Gus runs around and greets everybody. It is Gus's favorite weekend of the year by a wide margin. Because basically he gets played with the entire time. And you just find him in hallways just collapsed in asleep because he's so overstimulated. It's really great. There's a picture of him with Richard Sigler on the couch demonstrating that he's larger than Richard Sigler. All right. So, moving on from Charity Hammer, we'll have lots more on that. Oh, here's something fun that I will mention about Charity Hammer. So we have these 32 people, and we seed them normally for the what we call the hardest tournament ever. And we normally seed them, and we seed them based on how they're doing, and normally it's based on current season ITC points. I don't personally think that we're at a point where current season ITC points mean anything. We will be by the end of the year. I believe this season it will matter, but right now it's ITC points have a lot to do with whether or not you're willing to go to a tournament during a pandemic. I'm not...
Your area?
I'm in your area, yeah, whether your area is crazy. Like, I've not been able to go to a GT since February of last year. So, that said, I'm not judging any of you. You guys make your own decisions, put your mask on, go play. For all I know, you've been vaccinated for a year, right? Or for months. I don't know. So not hating on anyone, but that's just the reality of it. So what we're going to do instead is I'm going to give all of the players to the Falcon, and he's going to run a historical look at each player and see what their competency level over their history in 40K is and rank them as such. So that will be, I'm sure at least someone will be upset at Falcon through that process, and I look forward to that.
They'll probably question the data.
They probably will question the data.
Yeah,
but we will
match their, initial inclination, so.
Right. Because because we're the podcast that did the most that tier list that Facebook really had a lot of opinions about. I know that people will disagree. We did. Yeah. And we were wrong on Chaos Knights.
Oh yeah.
We were wrong on Chaos Knights.
I'd say we were wrong to some degree on like everything.
No.
But generally, I think we're in the right place on everything too. Yeah. So like.
But nothing... Chaos Knights we were wrong on because of how strong the War Dog and Morty list is.
Oh no, Imperial Knights. Oh yeah, like that thing is. But that's not Chaos Knights. That's Chaos Soup, which we rated even lower.
Yeah, so we messed that up. Anyways, so I don't have any idea where I was going with that. Oh, people will have opinions. Oh, so we'll have Falcon on the show about a month out from Charity Hammer, and we will totally have him go through the rankings. And it'll be a lot like unveiling the NFL Power Rankings. So it'll be kind of fun. I'm super curious will John Lennon be the top? He's been winning more against Nick than Nick's been winning against him, other than with Druhkari, in this year. And but John and Nick have both done well at tournaments. They've both won a GT, I think. So who will be? I would imagine one of the two of them would be the top guy. But who will it be? Don't know. So that's what's going on with Charity Hammer. Let's talk about cheating.
All right.
Because cheating is a big topic for the community the last few weeks. So, for those that don't know, the top player in the ITC was caught on camera at a tournament cheating multiple times in a game. If you watch the footage, it is obvious that it is cheating. It is not possible. I do not believe that those are mistakes. You'll notice that I didn't say that person's name. That's the thing that we're going to talk about here in just a moment. So basically caught on camera, internet flipped out as you'd expect it to. The ITC TO organization talked, and they made a decision to ban that person not from tournaments, but from the ability to get ITC points for the rest of the year, and voided their ITC points to this point. And also regionally, that person's been banned from tournaments for some number of months, I think. I could be of that rest part wrong, but the rest of that I know is right because Reese posted a thing about it that was very well written. Lots to unpack here. First of all, I want to remind everyone, because I think they need this more than ever, Chuck, the 40K is not a very cheater-rich environment.
No.
It's just not. I will tell you that Chuck and I understand the game at a much above average level, and we know almost how almost every army functions. We are very difficult to cheat against. People do not try to cheat that much. Like we would see it, we would catch it, we would it would be a thing.
I genuinely believe most of those people are also making mistakes.
Yes.
Right? Like,
yeah.
It's a difficult, complicated game. It's easy to get something wrong.
Well, I think that the quote of no perfect game of 40K has ever been played is very true, right?
Yeah.
Someone's going to mess up a dice roll. Someone's going to measure something wrong. Someone's going to get a stat wrong. Someone's going to get a rules interaction incorrect. That just is 40K. But everyone's acting like cheating is this massive plague that's covering all of 40K, and it's just not. I've played hundreds of tournament games over the past 3 or 4 years, maybe 200-300, and I've had a bad opponent that I didn't like 6 or 7 times, and I've felt cheated even less than that. It's just not, this is not that big of a deal. Now, what is a big deal is the TO organization and Frontline enforcing things. That's a really big deal, because we do want that. We do want bad actors to get caught, for sure. And that's a big deal. But the thing I wanted to talk about is when this person, and I'm not saying his name because that's not what this is about. So when that person got caught, a whole bunch of people said, oh yeah, I'm from his local area and he's a known cheater here. Lots of people said that. Now there's 2 things to talk about there. The first of which is that many of those people were lying. Not all of them, but many of them. That's just the internet. People want to jump in on that train. People want to be part of that.
Yeah.
Oh, I know that guy and he cheated against me. Did he? Or did he make a mistake? Right? Like, anecdotal evidence that someone is a cheater gets us nowhere as a community. And everyone piling on and saying that this person that cheated and is already going to be punished by the ITC, that person, oh, well, that person cheats all the time and we all know about it, that's actually worse for the community. Because that sounds like there's a large group of people in your community that are actively trying to hide that this person cheats. That's not good for your tournaments. That's not good for your community. So I would encourage you guys, when you see stuff about this, not to immediately post, cheat, he's a cheater. Like, don't pile in on it. It doesn't help. All it does is tell people that you either were hiding this or that, like, it doesn't tell people good things. So the question came up from this. The second topic.
I want to just comment real quick.
You should, sure.
Because the ITC is taking action, I think what you're saying is correct. I do also think that there is some degree of the community has always been the best police in some scenarios.
Sure.
Right. So like when there isn't a body that's going to act and going to act responsibly, we do need to kind of. That's the only way that's going to happen.
Sure.
Right now, we're not in that place. We have the ITC. They're actually handling things. I think it's great.
Yeah.
But I do think that kind of behavior, like there are going to be people who have done that in the past and feel bad about what you just said, and it's not necessarily the case because there wasn't any organization. We had to just sort of all throw up our hands and complain.
I think
it's not that way anymore.
I think that's completely fair. Let me actually re-articulate my point because I think you're right. So the point I'm actually trying to make is not that we shouldn't point out when people cheat as a community. We absolutely should. I'm interested in data. I'm interested in this person cheated by doing this. Here's the stream game of them doing it, right? That's fine, right? That's going to get the attention that the community needs. But the 100 people saying X person is a cheater because I'm in the community and it's well known, that's not useful. Unless it's true that all 100 of people have all been talking about what a cheater this person is and not telling the rest of us.
Sure, it's possible.
Which is certainly possible. So yeah, I just think that we need to be careful what we're accusing people of, because the other part of this that's terrifying is the idea that I'll be on stream at a big game and I'll mess a rule up and I'll be called a cheater for months online. Right? That's the terrifying part of this. When the community is judge, jury, and executioner all on their own, it can be really scary, but it also has value, right, Chuck? Like, it's also important.
Right. I don't know. It's you got to have it, but we got to be careful with it as well.
Yeah. So one of the questions that came up is, I certainly know of people that cheat. I have been cheated against by top tier players. I know who they are. I've watched them cheat at tables. I've seen people win tournament games from cheating. So That's all true stories. Like I could tell stories right now with people's names that who I think cheat,
Mm-hmm.
and I have evidence of some of that. But I'm not going to do that. And there's been a question why we don't. We're a well listened to competitive podcast. We're one of the top ones for the competitive. We're not the top one, but we're one of the top ones for competitive 40K. Thousands of people listen to this show, and they probably want to know who cheats. But we're not going to talk about it. Why is that, Chuck?
Well, honestly, straight up, it's not my job. I don't consent to that responsibility, and I don't want to be wrong.
No.
Can you imagine if we did that and I just had a bad experience with a person and read something incorrectly, and I just did that, and we have, I guess it's hard, this is so awkward to say, but we have like a more heard voice, and so like because of the platform and whatever, like because of our podcast, we would just have more power when we said that, and that would just like, I don't have the facilities to make sure I'm absolutely correct, and I don't accept the responsibility of like nailing somebody and then maybe being wrong.
Right.
Or maybe it's the one time they did it, right? I don't know.
Right.
I don't. Or maybe it was a mistake. Like I don't. That's not what I'm here for.
And it drops us into a he said battle too, right? That doesn't do anything good for the show, because again, so like I'm going to pick somebody that doesn't cheat. Let's pick John Lennon, because John Lennon doesn't cheat. If you've not played John, John's one of the best players in the world. He's also obviously a friend of mine, but he's also fantastic at the table. I've watched him play a ton of games. He is not someone you're going to get cheated by. So let's say that John made a mistake in your game, and you told everybody online that he's a cheater. Because John is a marquee player, what's going to happen is a number of people are going to take John's side, and a number of people are going to go against John, and then there's going to be a big fight about it with no data. And it's going to be terrible, no result, and it's going to be terrible for John. For those that don't know the story about the Art of War GT that John won a few months ago, where there was some weirdness, John did nothing wrong, and people used the cheater incident of last week as an opportunity to slam him again. And he did nothing wrong at that GT. So like, we have to be careful, the community that we're building, how we're going to talk about other people and how we're going to go after them and how we're going to point it out. And so, no, this podcast is not going to talk about who's cheating by name, because of a lot of reasons, and one of which is I think that the punishment is justified to the person that got punished, and I feel awful for him. Like, I get it that he shouldn't have done that, and I get it that he made bad decisions, and I get it that that shouldn't be allowed. All of that said, that is a human being whose main life thing is wrapped up in Warhammer 40K, and they're probably going to feel pushed out. And if I were that person, I would leave 40K. I would stop doing the podcast, and I'd be gone because my brand would be that level of damaged. Now, is that deserved? Fine, whatever. I don't want to argue with any of you about whether or not that's deserved. I just want to say that as someone who loves this community and this game, and it's my main thing that I do that is not work and family, I would be heartbroken to be in the situation that he's in. And I just want us to remember that, because we can also do that to people that are innocent. We can do the same thing to people that are innocent and force them out of the game.
That's the thing. I don't want to be a part of that possibility, right?
Right.
Also, just in general, I don't really like this topic a ton, right? Like,
no.
No. I sometimes people, like, when you go to an event, they'll be like, "Oh, watch out for your next matchup. That person is awful," or whatever, and they almost try to set you on an expectation. I work really hard to ditch whatever they set for bad and go into that game and be like, we're going to have a good game.
Yeah.
We're going to be friends, and we're going to enjoy this. Because I don't want to go in thinking, like, if I'm all suspicious and wound up before going into that game, of course it's going to go badly.
Right.
I'm not going to be fun, right? Like, it's just going to be a bad time for us. So
there's a local player, and I don't think I'm going to say who it is. There's a local player who, when I first played him, had a reputation that I was warned about, that he was going to be awful to play against. I've now played him, 4 times at tournaments, and we've had 4 great games. Yeah. Like, sometimes it's a personality match, but I do want to share that someone in the chat, Kelster to go, I don't know. There was a UK player on stream. He was court moving his opponent's models. called out online, and the mob was out. Turns out, if you listen to the audio, his opponent asked him to move the models. That is exactly what I'm talking about. If you don't know the internet is so eager to vilify people that I'm just really worried about how we react, and at the same time we have to, like Chuck said. This is a really difficult thing. Mm-hmm. So
there needs to be some amount of community activity in order to see change.
Yes.
But personally, I'm just not a person who's going to, be on the front line of that.
No.
So no. I will report issues that I have to the GO of the event I am at. That's kind of where I'm.
Well, and that's why the frontline thing is the best news. That's why the ITC announcement is the best news. Kelster the Great One is what that's supposed to be. Okay, sure. More power to you. My online names are dumb, so I'm not calling you out on anything. Chuck and I are both using the same online names we've used since we were kids.
We're 90s kids. We
just never changed them, and they're dumb. I have an email address I check every day that has GC Lancelot as part of it, which is like my initials and it's like the nerdiest, most awkward email address ever. So no, we get it. I just think that we have to be careful now. But the ITC thing is a really big deal because if the code of conduct starts being enforced across all of the ITC, and it's about yellow cards and red cards and TOs reporting and the ITC making judgment, then we don't have to talk about it. I mean, we could talk about it, but we don't have to be the police then, and that means that we're not going to also ruin parts of the community while we're policing. There's a fantastic philosophical debate, which is that the criminal justice system in any country can't be perfect. So can you have corporal punishment, right? Can you have the death sentence if you know that you can never have a perfect system? And what we do have in 40K right now is the ability to kill someone and remove them from the game without knowing if it's deserved. And I just want everyone to be careful about that.
Yeah. I think the other thing about the ITC is that it allows for different degrees of punishment in that regard, right? Like, instead of just saying you never play again,
right?
It says you're taking a vacation, right? I think, or you lose all your points or whatever. Like, I like that. I'm impressed with the ITC and what they're doing. I'm really glad to see them.
I actually reached out to Reese and complimented him on how well written his post was, because that's like really, really hard to write.
I hate having to write stuff like that.
But also keep in mind, so at the RTT that we did on stream where I played Druhkari, I played a round of that game with AP1 on my poison. I don't know why. I just did. And I talked to Zach about it after the game, and we agreed that it didn't matter, and so we weren't going to worry about it. But that is, under the strictest terms, that is cheating. It was also a week after that book came out, and I was trying to learn all of the rules. It was just a mistake. So should I forfeit that tournament? I certainly could have. My opponent didn't think I should, so I didn't. But I could have. Another example of this is yesterday, John Lennon was at a tournament with Druhkari, and we saw reported back that he had lost to Dimacharons, which my actual response was, I think they entered the scores incorrectly. Like, that was my actual response. If it had been anybody else but John playing Druhkari into Dimacharons, I would have been fine. But the idea that someone who knows both lists incredibly well would lose to Tyranids with Druhkari, I couldn't handle it. It turns out what happened is that because of having to do very complicated list math by hand, John's list was 2 points over, so he forfeited that game and dropped the tournament. Which, by the way, is the completely appropriate thing to do at a GT when your list is 2 points over. Right? Like,
I guess. Yes, that is the right answer. I have only once been told my list was incorrect at the beginning of an event, and threatened to lose my entire GT. Like, my whole weekend was going to be removed. Turns out it wasn't, so I had a great weekend. But that feeling of, like, I'm here to play 40K, I guess not, I'm going home.
Yeah,
which I'm
terrible.
sure doubled in his scenario of, like, well, I drove with all these people, so I guess I'm just hanging out.
Like, Chuck, do you have any... I know that compared to me, you have no anxiety of any kind. But do you... Chuck and I travel to tournaments together, so I know what we're both like. Well, you actually, that's not true. You don't like to travel that much. So usually I'm in charge of being cool through the travel, and then you're in charge of being cool through the tournament.
Yeah.
Um, but do you ever worry just illogically that you didn't bring all your models for the list? Because
Absolutely. I've actually, I have forgotten Shadow Sun.
Well, at least it wasn't someone important.
Yeah, it was an RTT. It was fine. It was at Mugu. They were like, here, use this. Right? No big deal. But
Right.
I do sit down in order to not have that anxiety. I sit down before I go and take attendance.
Yeah, me too.
I go through the list and I touch every model and count them, and they're like, okay, this is done. Great. And then I can put that away and not have that feeling.
I take attendance several days ahead, and I put them all in the way they're going to travel, or at least near it.
Mm-hmm.
And then I take attendance the night before, and sometimes the morning of. Because remember,
sometimes when you arrive.
Remember when we were in what tournament was it that we were at in Minnesota? Oh, the Renegade Open. Yeah, right. And we're at the tournament table ready to start, and I don't have my Dark Reapers in my Eldar list, which I'm playing double Spirit Inari, so like I only have 3 things on my list that do damage, and the Dark Reapers is one of them. So like, and I had this moment where I had thought I had left them in Seattle. They were just in the hotel room, like we had seen them and fixed them because somebody broke the night before. So like we had both seen them, but we both had like a good 5 seconds where we were convinced that I just didn't have Dark Reapers with me.
Yeah, that's the great one, because you've traveled on a plane ticket. You're not like...
No, there's no solution to that problem. And we're also at a hotel, so no one's got Dark Reapers still on me. Right? Yeah. We're not at a store.
No, nobody brought it with them, right? Yeah.
Nobody has extra Dark Reapers with them, no. Someone does point out there's a difference between lying about dice results. It's hard to unintentionally do that. That's true. That is a big deal to me for sure.
I think that's a big part of why this situation is so damning, right? Is the things that happened weren't rules mistakes, right? If they were rules mistakes, I'd be on the fence of like, well, I'm not really sure one way or the other. But this is just like, no, that behavior is unacceptable.
I am now going to take a moment to share with everybody who's watching how my dog is currently sleeping in this chair, because it does not look like it is a good position that he has found himself in.
That's the kind of position I wake up in, and then the rest of my day's ruined.
Yeah, exactly. His back is going to hurt. His back and neck are going to hurt the whole rest of the day. That's what that tells me. Worth it. Okay. So, who's in charge of being cool at dinner? I don't know.
Colin's in charge of making the conversation occur, and then I just slide in with something really smart, like every once in a while.
So basically, it's the podcast.
Yeah. We're not that much different. We talk a little louder so that we can be heard better, but like...
But the ratio of talking is probably the same.
Yeah.
Who is the tank in the parking lot fight? Man, we're both pretty fragile at this point. Yeah, Mitch, probably. Both Chuck and I are in our 40s, and both of us are not in the best health we could be. I don't think either of us want to get into any sort of fisticuffs.
I think we're both trying to pull the same move. When they hit us and we fall down, land on them.
Yes, that's right. That's right. Okay, so that's cheating, and I don't think we need to talk more about that. Obviously, it's not okay. I was just trying to point out that the people involved in these stories are human beings. And as we've talked about on the show before, I would prefer that everyone goes into every social interaction presuming altruism, right? Yeah. Presume that the other person means well. Presume that they're not trying to screw you. Your life will be much better, and 40K will be better as well. And yes, the answer is always Mark Perry for who's the tank in the parking lot.
Oh yeah, if we got Mark Perry, there's no fight. They show up and they're like, oh, never mind, we'll go.
Mark's like, we could fight, or you could watch me move this piano by myself, and then decide.
Whatever's, it's up to you.
Yeah, then decide. All right, so next up is to talk about Druhkari. I was, unfortunately, so far the data seems to be telling me that I am correct, and I'm not overreacting. The data seems to put them right behind pre-nerf Iron Hands win percentage. And when I say pre-nerf Iron Hands, I'm talking about the weekend of GTs where triple repulsor Iron Hands won every single tournament of the weekend and got first, second, and third at some of them. Druhkari don't have that level of... I tried to get Falcon on so we could talk through the data, but it's something like that weekend was 83% win. And this is 79% that we're seeing from Druhkari, or some numbers like that. They're about 5-6% off from each other. What we're seeing from data so far this weekend at all the GTs is that the main people that beat Druhkari is also Druhkari, which is a sign that if the main person that a faction loses to is their own faction, that's a sign of imbalance. So my general belief is that they've messed this codex up pretty bad. I think it's fun, and it's got a lot of neat things in it, and I like Druhkari, and I want to play them. I'm wearing an Eldar shirt today, in honor of the elves, different elves, but elves nonetheless. Um, I just think they're too strong, and I think that they need to be adjusted, and I don't know how they're going to do that or when they're going to do it, because the other side of this is that GW has delayed the AdMech release because of their I guess their ERP migration is going badly, which, as someone who's worked in software my whole life on business software, I understand you, GW. I'm sorry. So they're, I guess, having some problems, and then there was all the supply chain issues. So, like, I don't know when we're going to get the rest of the codexes and how quickly they're going to come. I believe that AdMech, Sisters, and Orcs are next, because those are the three things that we've seen models for. But, like, when? And how many months from now? And in the meantime, when are we going to get facts? And when are they going to do points? Because I think Druhkari needs a fact and points. I think they need both.
I actually think you could be very light on the fact.
Okay.
But yeah, the points are wrong. Like in our games, I feel like we've played each other pretty well,
Yeah.
and you just have like a whole extra wave than me.
Well, the game we played last weekend, which you guys unfortunately can't see on stream, but it showed off the power of Druhkari in a negative way. Because I played awful. I played terrible.
You pushed everything into me, and let me pick the fights.
And I didn't protect my objectives at all, and like I didn't do my secondaries well. And in the end, I won because one of my when we stands didn't die. But like I was playing against one of the best armies in the game against one of my best opponents. I should not have won that game. I should not have won that game. I did not play better than Chuck. My army was simply better. So the facts, the three things I'm looking for, no, the two things I'm looking for, and then I'll tell you the thing the community thinks that they need. I think that Liquefier, Rax, I think that Dark Technomancers cannot work on Flamers. I think that that's a gross mistake, gross in every sense of the term. I think that it's a 60-point unit that way outperforms their damage, and it is too tempting to make a list that has like 40 of those. So that's not okay. I think that the Succubus that gets a gazillion attacks is merely because of a rare rule interaction that's wrong. And what I've heard rumor-wise is what they're going to do is change the rare rule interaction instead of changing the Succubus. Because it's really a problem with the paragraph in rare rules about how additional attacks work. That's where that's where it's breaking. Well, it's
just going to continue to be a problem if they don't fix that. So
makes
sense.
Right. So, but like that's where the problem is. It's not the Druhkari book that's actually causing that interaction to be wrong. I think those are the two things that have to change, and then obviously Reaver jet bikes have to have the 20 correct points of 20 points rather than 10. If you're playing 10-point Reavers, every other codex, my understanding, I haven't checked, is that all the other language translations, all the other localization versions of the codex are all 20, and English is the only one that's 10. It is 100% wrong. No tournament should let you be taking them at 10. They are not 10. So those are the issues. I would also be okay if they were more limiting of how many Court of Archons you could take. I think one Court of Archon per detachment would be good. And then the big one is there is currently no language in the codex to stop you from stooping your detachments and getting all your benefit. That seems like it's just a rules mistake, because you shouldn't be able to put a Court of Archon in your Coven detachment and still have Liquefier Rex. That should not be okay. It is raw. It is currently okay. The Texas major tournament is going to allow that, which I think is obnoxious. So, in case Druhkari weren't good enough, here's a significant buff that makes list design significantly easier. And then, so those are all the things that I think I would change in a heartbeat, and I wouldn't lose sleep over any of those changes. The changeover a lot of people want is triple patrol is free, but because you put your warlord in one of the patrols, that gets you 2 CP, which is because the languages at those 2 CP are a reward, are like a gain. They're a bonus. They're not a replacement. I think that is working the way that GW intends it to work. Looking at how command points work in all these different armies, I think that's the way it's supposed to be. I like that army having a bunch of CP. Drukhari's kind of always had a lot of CP before we roll flattened to 12, because Vect was expensive and people took multiple battalions because their troop choices were cheap. Like, Druhkari has had a lot of CP. And their stratagems are not really what's wrong. Like, they've got some good stratagems, But their stratagems are nowhere near as powerful as the Marine stratagems or the.
No, it's the core is the thing. They're all just a little too cheap, and
Yes.
it shows over the course of the whole army.
Yep.
Um,
A little too cheap. Raiders being the main thing I think that's too cheap.
that's definitely one thing you pick, but I don't know if that would. If you put your army all on foot, each raider then turns into another squad of witches, right?
Yeah, which is crazy, right?
Like I don't think that necessarily.
Yeah. You're right. But the Raiders are 85 points for the durability of a Rhino and a Dark Lance that can reroll to hit.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
Yeah. And they're faster than Rhinos. And they can advance 8 inches with the stratagem.
And they fly.
I should be clear. The Druhkari stratagems are amazing compared to many, many books. I just mean that compared to some of the newer books, like they don't have a transhuman strat for anyone in any of their infantry, right? There's
they
really
have -1 to be hit.
well, yeah, but all elves have always had that.
Yeah.
Anyways, so I think Druhkari are a problem. I haven't decided this for sure yet, but I'm probably not going to take them to the RTT next weekend. I want to play them. I'm going to play them. I enjoy them. I want to learn them. I don't really want to invite 9 friends to my home and then to my property and then play an RTT with them where I'm dunking on them with Druhkari. That doesn't sound like a fun weekend for me or anybody else. And I think Druhkari are powerful to the degree that there is a chance I do not get a good game in all 3 rounds. I tend to win RTTs out here in general. To give me then the broken thing that's just bonkers broken, I'm just not into that.
There's not a lot of challenge in that day.
No, and it's not, and nobody wants it. Nobody wants that. So I think what I'm going to do is take a Tyrannid list that has no Dimacharians. Mostly because I like the mind something. Mind word I'm not going to say. Mind frick. The mind lovin'. I'm not going to give the mind lovin'. I'm going to give you guys some mind lovin' that I have built a Tyrannid list that I strongly think I could win a GT with that does not have Dimacharians in it. Boom. I've done it.
Tune in next week.
It might have Trogdor. It might have a Haradon in it. Haradon? Every time I say it, it sounds wrong. It sounds not okay literally every time I say the name of the model.
It sounded particularly wrong.
Yeah. I'm going to have a Haradon in my list all 3 days, all 3 games.
It's possible.
So that'll be a lot of fun, and it'll be a real counter meta thing that like no one's going to be prepared for unless they listen to this and decide to prepare their list specifically for me. Which, if they do, that's fine too. I don't really
all the proper tools.
I want to be clear. I do not care if I win an RTT that I'm hosting. I'm just playing in it because it's super fun. And anything like a GT that I'm running, I'm not going to play in it because that's dumb. So that's what's going on with Druhkari. I'm hoping we see an FAQ this week. People are skeptical. They say playtesters are telling them that it will be longer. I don't know that anybody knows. I believe we're going to get an Iron Hands level of data from this weekend, and last time we got that that week. Peter, I think the Falcon gave them Iron Hands data on Monday, and on Wednesday or Thursday we had the FAQ. So they know if it's a massive problem, GW will do something, and they will do something quickly. But I also think that I think that the other thing the game needs right now is chapter approved. I think that the armies that don't have their book yet, I think desperately need points reductions. I think that just in general. So, man, if Tyrannid's got points reductions right now, I would main them until so long. Okay, so that's what's going on with Druhkari. We want to have a Druhkari episode with Scary and Nick and John and JT McDowell and get everybody on here and talk Druhkari. We're not going to do that till post-fac because I'm really hoping that it is harder to just win with them at that point. Mm-hmm. One of the issues, by the way, is that the Druhkari lists that are winning are all different from each other. That's another way that you know that there's something wrong with that book.
Well, that's I think is wonderful. But if they could tone it all down just a little bit so it was more fair, but at that same space. I love that anybody, you can play a large variety of units and it's good. It's interesting that becomes what Druhkari units are best at killing Druhkari units.
Yes. Man, I played with those games at the Court of the Archon, and I went and bought the models to make them, but I also spent the whole week kind of being mad at them. Because, because 136 points for that level of durability and punch is so obnoxious.
It's 3 wounds apiece?
Yeah.
So
Yes.
it's 8 and 3 is 24,
It's
and then
20
5 up, 5 ups?
It's 6 up, 5 up at the beginning of the game, but then turn 3 they go to a 5 up, 5 up. A 5 up info, 5 up feel no pain. But they also can have like there's the one of them that has a 5 up armor save that you can give +2 to save in the cover and make it a 3 up, right? Like
Yeah.
it's really good. Someone says you've been working out, bro. Looking great. I think they mean you.
Okay.
Because I don't think
No.
they mean me. No, you don't think so?
I've been playing Outriders.
Yeah, I am the fattest I've ever fatted. That's what I
Yeah.
am. I'm trying to get better about it, but it's now that the pandemic's coming to a close. We've been walking with we've been taking the doggos and the kids on walks and going swimming more often and stuff, trying to get more active. Okay, let's move on to the lightning round.
All right.
Let me tell you guys how the lightning round works. We ask our Discord to write questions, and then we answer the questions without having seen them before and without proper time to think about them. Basically.
And we get them all 100% correct.
How broken is Druhkari if you play them on a GW board with random useless scatter terrain rather than competitive elves? I think that if you play on bad terrain in 9th edition 40k and you go second against the gunline, you lose. That's what and not just Druhkari. I'm just saying that in general, if your tournament is not willing to have good terrain and people have Admech or certain marine lists or Druhkari, and you go second against them with bad terrain, you don't get to play the game. And I think I think the GW made this game way killier with the intention that we'd play with a lot more terrain, and then didn't give us any guidance over how much terrain we should actually be playing with. That's my thought.
Yeah, and I guess I would say, I just want to, say what you're saying, but say it a little more to what I think is important there.
Okay.
In that scenario, you turn the game a lot into the first turn roll, particularly if everyone's going to that tournament knowing that that's how the terrain is.
Right.
Right? In which case it turns into the first turn roll, and Druhkari are still incredibly deadly and will destroy people when they get to go first. And I think Raider Druhkari might be able to take a lot of people's first turn. Like, you might lose all your Raiders, fling your stuff in there, and try to do something. Like, I think you're still better than a lot of armies would actually just be picked up off the table by Admech and such.
Completely agree.
It's like not an interesting format, right?
No.
Like, I can just roll a 4+ against you here over the thing, and we can save a whole day, right? Like,
let's talk about War Dogs.
Yeah, more action with War Dogs.
Like the list that is very common in our meta right now is 9, I think, of them. 8 of them.
Morty and some support.
Yeah, Mortarion and Ahriman, weirdly.
Yep. He's saying that.
Ahriman and Mortarion are friends, though. I see them together a lot.
Yeah.
That list is bonkers. It is crazy, crazy, crazy. And if you play at a tournament that doesn't have good terrain, that army will wreck everyone. Because the amount of damage that it does to anything that it can see is craziness. So terrain's a big problem right now. And I think the tournament that out here, there's a GT happening this weekend, and I think that tournament, from what I've heard, that tournament host has had a hard time getting enough terrain on the tables. And so, like, they're seeing some of that, like, and then also there's a Custodes player there with double Telemon that's shooting people off the table. So, like,
that's how you live through that scenario.
Yeah.
Just like, whatever, shooting army, I don't care.
Right? Yeah. Druhkari has some rules that are broken, but even if it's fixed, how do you think Fragile, Fast, Deadly can be balanced in 9th? Is that just GW setting themselves up to walk the narrowest tightrope? What do you think, Chuck?
No, based on our games, I felt outclassed, but I always felt outclassed by like a unit and a half or so. So I really do feel like points can just easily settle them back into position, and it won't ruin the feel of the army. It'll just bring them more in line with everybody else. So I'm very hopeful.
Okay. I think that's great. I'm going to take Chuck's answer and move on. Why would GW release Be'lakor and not have rules for him? Welcome to COVID supply chain, is what I would guess.
Yep.
I think that Be'lakor is ready, and they're going to sell him, but I suspect that the Demons Codex was supposed to be out by now, and we just have not seen it yet.
Also, I think he's mostly being released in Fantasy.
In AOS.
Yeah.
It's not called Fantasy anymore.
Sure it is.
No, it's not.
You can't take the sky from me.
No, it's literally not. They killed that. It's dead. Okay. Yeah, other than that, we don't know. But man, is that Bellicor model cool.
Yeah.
I would say that. Super cool.
Yeah, if I didn't have if I was just looking for a project, I'd be 100% be trying to get one of those in my hands.
Yeah. How does Frontline Gaming end up using their terrain with Ninth Worlds? I have no idea. We'd have to ask them.
I don't think they've done any tournaments, so no one knows, right?
But they're about to do a lot.
Yeah. So they probably have a plan. They're pretty smart people, but who knows? And
speaking of them doing a lot, well, no, this isn't set in stone because like the world could literally collapse between now and then. But Chuck and I are going to go to the New Orleans Major, which is on my birthday weekend. Mm-hmm. We're going to go to the Vegas Team Tournament in September, which is on Chuck's birthday weekend. September? Is that right?
Yeah.
And I'm also going to go to the SoCal Open in San Diego. I don't know if Chuck's going to that one. And then I'm also going to go to LVO in January. So those are my 4 big trips for the remainder of the year with Nova canceled. So if you're going to be there, come say hi. Okay, next question. What's the jankiest trick you've pulled in 9th edition? Chuck and I had a game, Sisters versus Gene Stealer Cult, where I had a turn where I was able to use the come in flame and then still get to bring in more deep strike to take all of Chuck's objectives and give him a 0 for that turn. And we both were super amused by it. Like, we were both just like... Because what was happening in that game is the Sisters were just wrecking Gene Stealer Cult. Just wrecking them. And I won the game by, like, a couple points because I was able to give Chuck a 0 a few turns because of janky Gene Stealer bullshit, basically.
My answer's almost the same answer.
Oh.
We played Buggies versus Craftworld Eldar.
Okay.
And you castled up on one side, and you put a Wraithlord and a... Wave Serpent on 2 objectives out in the Dawn of War, and I moved a buggy up onto one of the objectives with the Wraithlord, and then shot my Death Copta to the objective with the Wave Serpent, and basically said, nope, can't do anything, and took all your points away. Same thing, it's just like we started first turn, and I was like, and I charged some obsec thing or something, I touched the other one, I was like, I zeroed you out on that first turn. It was just like, oh. And I think both of us had a moment there where we were like, yes, we've just leveled up on what 9th edition means, right? Like, this plays differently.
I have no recollection of even playing Craftworld Eldar in 9th edition, so I don't remember this game.
I know it's part of the
start
weekend 9th edition. We're just going to play a bunch of games this weekend.
Yeah,
we did.
That was fun. I would like to do that again. What do you want to see in the new codexes for the armies you play? Well, we think you're about to get both of the codexes you're interested in, Chuck. So yeah. What do you want to see in Sisters, and what do you want to see in Orcs?
What I want to see in Sisters is new units.
Okay, done. We know that's true.
Yeah, but it's specifically. I love the way the army plays. I love Miracle Dice. I love the mechanics. I love the stratagems they have. I'm not an Imperial fan. I don't I'm not flavor playing Sisters of Battle.
You were not.
I don't care. I'm playing them mechanically. I turned them into an interesting paint project to help me stay involved. So I hope that the mechanics stay in a place that feel the same, because I want to continue to play them, right? So really what I'm saying when I say just new units is it's just like, give me those new toys so I can fill in some gaps and have some new things to think about, but I love the way it is. I think it's great.
And Orcs?
Orcs, I put this forward a few times. The War Boss on Bike went up a toughness, and a lot of things that happen in Forge World kind of are little peaks at what's coming. So if everything in the Orc army went up toughness, you'd have T5 boys, and I think a horde of T5 boys lets you have 90 boys be the majority of your, like a big part of your army, and it makes them tough to shift, but you don't have to then have like 120 or 150 boys, so it makes the horde playable, and I'm hoping for something like that.
I like that. Gene Stealer Cult. I would like Gene Stealer Cult to have jank. Deep jank. I think
you want Sisters of Battle out of them.
Well, I want Sisters of Battle in general, but you're playing them and I've resisted the urge. I think Sisters of Battle might be the most fun codex in the game.
That's how I feel about it.
And you know why? Because you can make deep strike charges.
Uh-huh.
And
that's
nobody,
what I mean.
and nobody, yeah.
You want Gene Stealer Colt. You want that same level of somehow I can choose to make the thing happen that I need to make happen.
Right. So that's what I want from Gene Stealer Colt. Tyranids, I would like it to be written by somebody who actually cares about the army, which I don't think Psychic Awakening was. I'm very critical of GW's support of Tyranids. I think that they don't consider them to be in the same class as everybody else. They don't give them models. Their books are never early. Like the reason why the book is still being played is because we have Forge World, and because the Forge World monsters are so good. And if they had not done that, then Tyranids would be dead. They'd be F tier. Yeah. So I'd like to see Monster Mash be successful. I would like to see Monster Mash have the durability to play against these AdMech and War Dog and these gun lines. I'd like to see that. I would love it if Gene Stealers were good. I would love it if Gene Stealers were good.
I like the way the Democarian list plays, where it's like, okay, I've got these monsters. You have to deal with them.
Mm-hmm. You do.
And while you're dealing with them, I'm going to score a bunch of points. So you sort of force people to solve the Democarian problem and the Horde problem at the same time.
Right.
That feels like that to me. That's the Tyranid feel should be. Right, here they come. I'm getting swarmed. Right. Make the best you can out of the last couple turns, so that you can then make up the points if you're going to beat them. Right. Or if you don't, you don't. Right. I think that's a great place for them to be. If they keep that flavor, or like they successfully deliver that flavor, it's great.
Mm-hmm. Craftfield Elder, I want to be wildly different. I want fast with less. I think that Craftfield Elder are supposed to be fast like Druhkari, but a little bit more durable and a little bit less spiky burst damage. I think that's what they're supposed to be, but that's not what they are. I want Craftfield Eldar to have reasonable close combat so that you can play a balanced army. I think 9th edition is all about playing a balanced army. I think you need to be able to punch, shoot, and if your army supports it, you need to be able to brain as well. So right now, I think CWE is basically just, I've taken all of the best guns I can, and I hope that's enough. I would rather that they have, board control elements and close combat and actually be able to play, So that's my thought there. Go ahead.
When I think of Craftfield Eldar, what I imagine is this kind of, I don't know, vague, but some level of fast AdMech. The way they have a lot of guns and they have really powerful but close combat units, but everything is sort of specialized. I've always seen Craft Eldar that way, rolled that way. I have this unit and this unit does this thing.
Yeah.
And then you've got to bring all your things to bear in the best way possible, and that's kind of the skill level behind them. I think that would be really neat.
Right. And then I want all my armies to have Miracle Dice.
Yeah, because they're just the best.
Because that's the best.
They're the new command point.
That's the best mechanic in the game. So I'd like everybody to have that. That'd be great. Yeah. I don't really care about Harlequins. I own them. They've never been my favorite. I care about them fine, but I don't know what I would want from them. I want them to be more balanced and be able to handle more take all comers situations. But whatever. Who did I forget? I think that's all the armies I really care about, right? Oh, Guard. I do care about Guard. I do care. 9th edition has rekindled my love for Guard. I had not played them for years, and I've played them some in 9th edition, and I enjoy playing them. I want them to be good. I think that Guard should keep its mobility and skill and the tools it has for playing the game, and they just need to make it able to deal with the threats more, which in particular for Guard means a good close combat option, I think. Make Bulgrin have the price on Bulgrin, and Guard is suddenly Black Plus or S tier, right? They're only a couple changes away from really being able to hit with the big guys. I think they already have. Let me say one more thing. They already have crazy efficient damage, and they already have really inexpensive fast moving board control. Those are two of the things that you need to play in 9th edition. They just need to have their tool set filled in with the rest.
Yeah, I was gonna say Chaos. Chaos Demons. I essentially want to have the canoptic side of the Necron book.
Sure.
As Chaos Demons. I think that that function, it feels like Chaos Demons. It would work great. Obviously, you change the mechanics around, but fast-moving, hard-hitting, close combat units that get OPSEC are great and could make a thing work.
Right.
And then for Chaos Space Marines, I want the same thing I've always wanted. A bunch of Chaos Space Marines who are hiding behind some buildings, You're going to jump out at you, and some demon engines that are blowing you up and charging you and causing problems.
Well, I've never seen that be good.
It's been a hot 6 editions, but
yeah. Wow. Okay. Okay. Do you think there are zebra centaurs too?
Yes.
Okay, I say yes as well.
But only in noir films. It's complicated.
Do you think it's okay? Do you think where'd it go? There was a question about objectives. Should there be an objective that's hidden in your deployment zone? Is basically what the question is in your games.
I think sometimes. I think that's a sort of mission dependent. I lean more towards yes in missions that are hold to, so that it's not your whole game. But I do think you have to have some amount of interactivity. Otherwise, armies that don't interact get a pretty big leg up. And I don't know if they're better or not, but they're boring and would make the game less fun. So.
Yeah, I think the broader topic there is I don't like it when all the objectives are in the open. Is another way of putting that.
Yeah,
because
now, you and I agree. We disagree a bit on how much you should be able to hide it all.
Yeah.
I generally think if you're hiding, you should be pretty far away. Because I don't like that. You know, like the veteran vanguards landing in your deployment zone behind a building and just being like, "Do you have somebody to send over here?"
Right.
Otherwise, no, I do whatever I want next turn is, I think, pretty bad for a lot of armies.
Yeah, that makes sense. Right. I don't have any problem with that. I don't really know what it should be like. Right? Like,
yeah.
Should all the objectives be in the open? Should half of them be in the open? Like, I don't know, but I can tell you that the scouring's pretty stupid. And part of the reason it's stupid is you can usually see all 4 objectives from one point. Right? Like, yeah. So, okay. Other questions? What armies do you think are most dependent on terrain and what are least dependent on terrain? Man, I don't know if I can quickly answer that.
Well, heavy terrain benefits close combat.
Yes.
Obviously.
True.
And it benefits close combat that can make distance. So Dark Eldar, White Scars, Sisters, those armies that can go 18 inches and charge you are going to benefit the most from terrain, I think. Yeah. A lack of terrain is obviously just guns. And if you're in a lack of terrain environment, get guns and get guns of a lot of different varieties. Because then all you have to do is figure out what gun is most efficient for killing your opponent's thing and pick up more of their army than yours.
Yep. And make sure, when you make those guns, that you make sure you're durable so that if the other guns go first, you don't die.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, this is really my issue with 40K is that if we allow tournament organizers to decide how much terrain it is and it's not enough, then we basically just turn into who goes first with the better guns, and I hate that. I'm not interested in that at all. That's not an interesting game. Yep. I like it when both armies have all of the tools and are doing all the things. Like, one of the things I like about Druhkari and Tyranids so much is that they get to shoot you and charge you, and I think that's fun. And I think it's more interesting to play in every phase of the game. Well, those are our lightning round questions. We do have a question. If you could show some completed Sisters on the camera here.
Yeah, let me grab.
And if you're listening to the Discord, if you're listening to this on as a podcast, I'm sorry that this part will not be interesting to you.
This incredibly boring portion.
Yeah.
Here is the Triumph.
Here is a Termagant.
She's all ready for battle.
I've got Mandrakes on my desk.
And 2 Seraphim. And I just finished.
Yep. Pretty flippin' cool.
I'm getting there. I've got 12 infantry and 2 tanks. And I'm 2,000 points ready for Saturday.
That's great. Okay. So, Tyranids have had more codex than any army but Space Marines. I'd have to take your word for it. That doesn't change anything that I said. Their ability to release codexes for Tyranids 10 years ago does not help us now. I think that currently they're not getting the attention that they need. I recently started to include a Maleceptor in my double diamond Caron list for the -1 to strength on incoming ranged attacks, good or bad. I think that's the same conversation as the Malanthrope. It's basically how much defensive buffs do you want to put into your Tyranid list in case you go second. My experience is that the Tyranid list The Demakaron list has an incredible amount of power that is diffused very quickly when you start taking things out to add in defensive buffs. In order to add in that Maliceptor, you have to take out either one of the damage dealing things, which I don't want to do, or one of the giant units of board control, which I also don't want to do. So that's hard for me. I also don't have 2 CP to spend on the Maliceptor in that list. That list is woefully under budgeted, under CP for how many it wants. 2 CP to shoot Hiveguard twice, 2 CP to make the extra and do 3 damage flat, 3 CP to fight twice, multiple CP per turn to move really fast. Like, you just don't
CP to reroll the wound, right?
Yeah, 1 CP to reroll wounds on the Demicarons. Like, you do not have 2 CP a turn to be -1 strength on their guns, in my opinion. But
is the idea we're talking here is sort of on the first turn? If you go second, you can give -1 damage.
-1 strength.
-1 strength to the for incoming fire on the Demicarons.
Yeah, but you're doing it for like 180 points and 2 CP.
Yeah, and then after that, at least in my opinion, half the time the Demicarons go forward and it doesn't matter anymore.
Right.
Because I can't really focus at stuff where he would be, right? Like, I can't get firepower down there very easily.
Right.
So it's blocked anyway. I would almost put those points into a third Demicaron before I would do the rest of that.
Right. I think that the thing about the Demicaron list is you need to actually have the situation where you lose the Demicarons turn 1 before you gear to stop it. Because we've talked about it so much, and the only time it's happened to me is when I played Admech and we made him go first to see what would happen. That's the one time that I lost both Demicarons on the first turn. I've lost 1 Demicaron on the first turn before, and I won all those games. So, like, it's not just about keeping the Demicarons alive. The weird thing about that Demicaron list is when the Demicarons, the more opponents get used to the list, the less the Demicarons actually do. My last many games, the Demicarons got very little killing done and just were bullet sponges while the rest of my army killed my opponent. And that's why I'm trying a new archetype for next weekend that instead of having Demicarons and Swarmlord has a Herodon and but still all of the shooting of that list. So basically you take all of the non-Demicaron offensive power and you replace it and you leave it, but then you replace the Demicarons with something that is more durable and will do damage longer than them. And I think that that's interesting, and I'm excited to try it. It is bringing a 700-point model in my list, which is against my religion when it comes to 40k. But I have to try it. It's too much fun not to. So that list, all the lists will be posted in the next few days, and you guys will be able to see all the lists from the RTT, including that one.
I'm hoping to see the Herodon and Morty get into a fight.
Oh, man.
I don't know if there'll be any Mortys there, but that would be great.
Well, we've been talking about the fact that the Herodon can do +1 to wound, he can get +1 damage, and he can get exploding 6s. And so we're saying that those 3 things together is the full Trogdor. That's what that's called.
Oh, that's what it is.
So, like, if someone has Morty, I will give Morty the full Trogdor.
But you never go full Trogdor.
No, you have to go full Trogdor. Because I'm pretty sure that 16 shots hitting on 3s, exploding 6s, wounding Morty on 2s, which is hysterical. Wounding Morty on 2s, and then he takes invulns or takes 4 damage each. I think Morty does not want that.
Well, and you can do that from nowhere near charge range, right?
You can do it from 48 inches away.
Yeah, or you can do it with the 30-man horde in front of him.
Yeah.
Right? And you're just like, no.
Yeah. No, Morty could not charge Trogdor. And then if Trogdor does get into combat, people forget that he does 6 damage flat in combat.
So gross.
So the very first game I played against Chuck, the Trogdor jumped over Chuck's army and charged and killed the Plagueburst Crawlers. But the next time I played, I could see both Plagueburst Crawlers on the first turn against Zach, and I buffed him to 4 damage and split fire and killed both Plagueburst Crawlers in 1 round of shooting. And it's like, well, that's 2 of the most durable tanks in the game. Excellent. So, he's pretty funny. He's probably not actually worth 700 points. I just think that the list I have him in, he might be worth 700 points. So,
in my games against him, I think he's great. He's durable enough that, like, it's not very reasonable for somebody to kill him in 1 full round. And he does a crap ton of damage.
Yes, but how many points is Morty?
500.
Okay. So is Trogdor 200 points better than Morty?
You've added 2 substantially large las cannon arrays to Morty, so I feel like yes.
But but Morty kills anything he wants in combat pretty much, and Trogdor does not.
As far as I can tell, so does Trogdor.
No, Trogdor has 5 attacks. Trogdor does not kill anything he wants
True.
in combat.
He doesn't kill a pile of things.
He can do 30 damage if everything hits and wins, which is
that's almost enough to kill another Trogdor.
It is almost enough to kill another Trogdor. That's pretty funny. Of course, whoever goes first in that game, if Trogdor gives the full Trogdor to another Trogdor,
yeah, it's not good.
That other Trogdor does not want the full Trogdor. It won't one-shot him, I don't think, but...
Yeah, but he'll be so diminished he won't be able to give the full Trogdor back.
Oh, I don't know. He doesn't degrade till he's got 9 wounds left.
Oh, man.
He's got Dermic Symbiosis on him.
Well, I think everything else is going to shoot at it as well, so we'll see.
That's true. I love this idea that I'm at a tournament where 2 of us both have Trogdor and we're playing them against each other. I think that's great. Okay, guys, that's it for the show this week. Next week we'll be doing the RTT on Saturday, and then we'll be back recording the following week. I want to do the Druhkari episode, we just can't do it yet. I also am going to have the Goonhammer guys on at some point. I've been chatting with them, so we got that coming up as well. But that's pretty much what's going on with us. Remember to like us and subscribe to us and all those things, especially on the YouTube channel. It's really helpful if you subscribe to us there.
Yeah.
And remember to go to the Patreon group and sign up. You will come in. People will be friendly with you. You will have a new place with people that want to talk about 40K and centaurs. They like to talk about centaurs. They do.
Bagged milk.
And bagged milk.
Whatever.
Milk coming in bags. Canada, you're weird. All right then. And the person that is staying with me says, "Can Chuck come over for a surprise 40K game and stream?" No, not today.
Not today. I'll surprise you on Saturday.
We might
at the scheduled time.
We might stream this week. We talked about it. You're
Right.
on vacation, but you're doing home stuff.
Yeah, depends on how things go.
Yeah.
So we'll see.
All right, guys, that's the show for now. Thank you, everyone, and we will come back to you guys in a few weeks. Thanks, everyone. We always appreciate the support, and we'll talk to you later. Bye now.
Bye.